On this special Shabbos of HaGadol, we commemorate the first act that the Jews took in Egypt to show that they were free. They took the lamb and slaughtered it and smeared the blood on their doorposts in anticipation of that moment in time when God would come and the angel of death would destroy the Egyptian firstborn and the Jews would be free. But I want to point out to you the last thing the Jews did to indicate that we were truly free. And the reality is, it's something that they didn't do on their way out of Egypt. They didn't take revenge. The Egyptian people were in turmoil. There was screaming all throughout Egypt after the angel of death struck. The Jews were then free to take revenge on their enemies, on their oppressors. And they had every reason in the world and every right in the world to do that. These were Egyptians who had enslaved them for 210 years. These were Egyptians who had killed the baby boys. And yet the Jews left. There was no act of revenge taken. My teacher, Rabbi Soloveitchik, writes as follows: would we blame the Jews if they had engaged in a few acts of vandalism and even murder on the night of the 15th of Nisan, killing a few of the taskmasters who had thrown their babies into the Nile? Still, the Jews, at the command of God, said no. They defied themselves and refused to gratify a basic need of the human being, the need for revenge. But by defeating themselves, they also won the greatest of all victories. They became free. This is exactly what we commemorate and celebrate on the night of the Seder. The Jews were entitled to be filled with anger and the desire for revenge. It would have been understandable, but they controlled themselves. They were free to do the right thing. Events in Ukraine have evoked all sorts of feelings. It's such a mix-up of having a Ukraine, which we have such a bad history with, and having a president of Ukraine who's Jewish. And I've read some people said we shouldn't care about these Ukrainians. Khmelnytsky killed 100,000 Jews, and there's still a statue of him. And when the president of the Ukraine hands out a medal of freedom, it's of this Khmelnytsky, one of the greatest enemies and slaughterers of the Jewish people. Who cares about the Ukrainians? But you know what? We have to let go of those feelings for revenge. Otherwise, we're never free to be you and me. You know, all of us carry our own little events in life that are not so little, that weigh on us. One rabbi described it as follows: many of us continue to carry heavy baggage without even appreciating we have an option to put it down. He really badmouthed me behind my back. Can you believe they scheduled the bar mitzvah on the same day that I had already reserved for my daughter's wedding? She absolutely humiliated me at the committee meeting after I worked myself to the bone for this project. I've been taking care of Dad for the past 5 years, And not once did he visit for more than a couple of hours. Not once did he ask if I needed any help. A lot of us carry that baggage. But ask yourself what these people did to you. Was it any worse than being slapped in the face in front of millions of people, as Will Smith did at the Oscars to Chris Rock? He was angry. He had every reason to feel hurt and insulted. But he didn't have to slap a person to show how he felt. He could have accepted his Oscar and made an important statement about a wife and her illness. You show that you are really free when you don't give in to your most negative and basest instincts. The Jews didn't strike back, and so they were free. You have the ability not to strike back and not to let others define who you are. Enjoy the festival of freedom. Shabbat Shalom.